Hey everybody, it's ScomletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today marks the beginning of the 2023 Arena Decathlon event. This is a series of 10 events, all featuring a different format. For each event that you manage to get a 7-win run in, you'll be getting one Decathlon token that is specific to that event's format, and you're trying to collect as many Decathlon tokens as possible. So a very variety-focused series of events here, trying to collect them all, win them all, that kind of stuff. For 3 tokens, you get 1 entry into the Decathlon Finals. At 7 tokens or more, you'll get 2 entries to the Decathlon Finals, and if you manage to get all 10 Decathlon tokens, you'll also get a special gold Sundering Titan sleeve and some play-in points there. So the whole point of the event is that it's a variety series, tons of different limited and constructed formats, and the very first one that we'll be playing in today is a jump-in event. This is the format where you get your choice of a 20-card deck out of 3 different themed packets. After you pick your first themed packet, you'll get 3 more themed packets to choose from. So kind of a limited format here, kind of like a sealed deck, but you have a little bit more choice in what you want to go with. Without further ado, let's just jump in. So as you can see, just for entering an Arena Decathlon event, you will get the Bronze Sundering Titan sleeve. We get to upgrade that to Silver if we get at least 3 Decathlon tokens. But here we have the 3 options. We have Transience, which looks to be a black-white aristocrats strategy, all about having your permanents leave the battlefield. So a lot of sacrifice style effects in this deck. Sluggers, which is a red-green, just beat sticks kind of deck, just a bunch of monsters, beefy creatures, that kind of stuff. And Mechs, which is probably focused around vehicles. You can see the colors of the decks in the bottom right, and if you want a little bit more specifics on what these decks could contain, they are all a little bit randomly generated. I'll have a couple links in the description below. One to Magic Arena Zones page, which will tell you the rares that could be contained in these lists, and the other to Wizards official page about the jump-in format that will have some of these packets listed with everything that could be in them. So I know from the Magic Arena Zone page that the Sluggers deck has some incredibly powerful rares. The 2 different rares you could get at a 40% chance each are the Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, a 6-mana dragon that deals 4 damage to something just when it enters the battlefield, and Titania's Command, a 6-mana card that can give you 2 2/2s and then put 2 +1/+1 counters on your entire board. 2 incredibly powerful bomb rares. They're 40% chance apiece, which means there's only a 20% chance that you don't get one of those incredible bombs. So I'm going to roll with the Sluggers deck as my first pick here. I am going to be competing competitively in these Arena Decathlon events. If you want to play just for fun, it's kind of cooler to not like try to metagame and know what's in the packs, but I'm going to be competing to the best of my ability in all of these events, and as far as I know, Sluggers should be a pretty good chance at some very powerful rares, so we'll roll with Sluggers to start it off. Alright, so our next 3 options in Jump In are always going to be tied to the colors of your first pick. So if you drafted a 2-color deck in your first pick, then the next ones are all going to be within those 2 colors. If you picked up a 1-color deck, then these could all be any of the other 5 colors as well. Jump In is always going to make sure you end up with just a 2-color strategy, unless you open one of the very rare, like 5-color decks. I don't even know if there are any right now, but I know there was one in the old historic Jumpstart. But anyways, I digress. Let's check out these archetypes. We have Prototype, which is a little bit of ramp in here to try to cast some of the big prototype-y sort of threats. We have Dead and Buried, which is kind of a self-mill theme. And then we have Mishra's, which is kind of just an aggressive red deck in general. And this is a Brothers War packet, and the aggressive red stuff in Brothers War tends to be pretty powerful. Our other deck is also relatively aggressive, the Sluggers archetype, so I think I'm going to roll with Mishra's here. Again, I did a little bit of research here. I'll have links in the description below if you want to do the same when you draft your packets, but I think having 2 aggressive decks together should be a pretty good archetype for us here. I think Prototype would be a decent fit as well. Sluggers does have a little bit of ramp going in it, a little bit of big creatures, so that would be a decent pickup as well, but I don't think Dead and Buried is going to synergize particularly well with our Sluggers deck. So we're going to start off with Sluggers and Mishra's for the first Arena Decathlon event. Take a peek at what we opened up here, because the decks are always a little bit randomized. The cards you can get vary a little bit. So let's see what we got here. Looks like we did get the Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, so we didn't get Titania's Command, but that's okay. Still got a very good bomb rare. Not quite as good as Titania's Command, but still pretty busted. When we look at what we got out of the Mishra's deck, we did get a Mishra's Command there, which is a great removal spell. So our deck is looking pretty sweet here. A lot of good removal. We have Mishra's Command. We have an Excavation, Explosion, an Obliterating Bolt. We have Unleash Shell as well. So pretty good amount of solid removal for a 40-card deck. We also have some very solid creatures. Obstinate Baloth, Arbalest Engineers. Scrapwork Mutt is a great value play. A lot of good stuff going on here. Horned Stoneseeker, that's a nice pickup as well. 2-mana, 2/2 menace with a Power Stone. And then we still have some big prototype stuff, and all of these are pretty reasonable to cast for their cheaper costs. So our curve looks really nice as well, where if you consider these Philagi Dragon Engine and Blitz Automatons as 3-mana plays, and then the Boulder Branch Golem as a 4-mana play, our curve is nice and aggressive. A ton of 2s, tiny bit less 3s, tiny bit less 4s, and then just a couple 5s and the one really powerful 6-drop. So looks like a really sweet green-red aggro deck to be playing with today. Hopefully we can get some quick victories with this one and just immediately get our first Decathlon token. So we'll see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are in Game 1 of the Arena Decathlon event. We're going to be starting with a Wooded Ridgeline to have both of our colors available. We have a Scrapwork Mutt. If we flood out, we can discard some extra lands to draw cards, so this is a perfectly reasonable opening hand. The thing about the jump-in event is you do get a free mulligan, so this might be worth a mulligan since it's free. If the mulligan weren't free, I definitely wouldn't mulligan. I think I'm still going to keep it, though. I think the Scrapwork Mutt goes a long way of making this hand very reasonable. Our opponent is on black-red with a Geothermal Bog to start things off. Fortunately, a couple lands to start things off for us. We're definitely going to use the Scrapwork Mutt to get rid of one of those to draw another card, but for now we'll put the higher power creature down to put more pressure on our opponent's life total. Oh my god, they got a Liliana of the Veil in one of their packets, which is pretty disgusting here. That's going to 2-for-1 us really hard, because it's going to kill our Rock Hunter and force us to throw an Obliterating Bolt at the Liliana, because if we don't, she's going to completely take over the game. I suppose we don't have to kill her yet. The +1 requires each player to discard a card. We definitely have expendable stuff to discard, whereas our opponent might not, and she's at 1 loyalty, so she won't be able to make us sacrifice a creature next turn. So we might go Scrapwork Mutt here, discard a forest, draw a card, and then drop a forest, play Audacity on the Mutt, because even if the Audacity gets killed, we get to draw a card out of it, and we have no other creatures to put this on anytime soon anyway. I'll make a nice big Scrapwork Mutt here. Now our opponent needs to have 4 toughness worth of creatures on board to stop us from killing Liliana, or they need to blow up our Scrapwork Mutt. This will be a really easy discard for us. I might even discard the Ridgeline here, just so I can have all of my untapped mana. And our deck, the reason that I was discarding forests before mountains, even though I have a little bit more mountains here, is because our deck is more heavily leaned towards red. We have a red-green deck and a mono-red deck, so we definitely have more red than green cards. Unfortunately, a lot of lands here for us. See if we can get this attack off into Liliana. If we can't, that means they're killing the Scrapwork Mutt, which actually kind of okay for us, because we'll draw a card off of this Audacity. Then we'll also discard a card, draw a card when we unearth the Mutt later, so that can help get us out of this mana flood, and Mishra definitely can as well. However, let's just kill this Liliana, I think. Well, if I play Mishra, they could -2 Liliana and kill it. But then Liliana's gone. That would be a really good play for our opponent because we have the removal to kill Liliana anyway. If I play Mishra and then they just +1 Liliana, we're still in a great spot to Obliterating Bolt her. This is a rough choice here, because playing Mishra is going to work really poorly for us if they just sack Liliana. I mean, I guess Mishra, yeah. Mishra for Liliana trade isn't terrible. It's still a 1-for-1 trade, just like Obliterating Bolt for Liliana would have been. So if they want to do that, we can just keep our Obliterating Bolt for something else. And we still get value off Mishra here because we get to discard a card, draw a card. I probably should have played a Mountain again because of our heavier lean towards red than green. We also have that one rare, the Flying Dragon, that you can dump a bunch of red mana into to give it a bunch of extra power. So we do want to have as many red sources on board as possible for some of our cards. Sengir Connoisseur. Yep. Big flyer. Each player discards a card. All right. Living the dream over here. We're going to have a very good turn next turn. We can Obliterating Bolt the Connoisseur, then unearth the Mutt and attack Liliana for 4, deal with all of their threats on board, and they had to discard a legitimate card, their Tattered Apparition, where all we had to discard was a land, so that all worked quite well for us. Let's go ahead and discard a card, draw a card off Mishra now. Another land for us. It's okay, I can discard that to Scrapwork Mutt since I'm unearthing it here anyway. So unearth that. Discard the land, draw a card. Another land. That's okay, we do want to hit 6 mana eventually if we're ever going to hit our 6 mana bomb. Bolt the flyer. Kill the Liliana. And I think for now I might want to keep this in hand. Because there's only like one card in our deck that requires that 6 mana, which is the big dragon. And this Blanchwood Prowler is almost guaranteed to get us another land. We kind of have flooding out a little bit if we don't hit specifically our 6 mana play. So we could want to discard this Mountain to Mishra to draw another card. Mishra's Juggernaut. Alright, now I kind of don't want to do that. Don't exactly want to offer the trade of Mishra into Rager, because Mishra has a good activated ability to keep around, so I think we just slam down the Juggernaut and pass. Let's hope they don't have any graveyard recursion here. We did see them highlight their graveyard earlier, and that would be a pretty bad time for us if they can pick up this Liliana and recast her. Jaxis the Troublemaker, their next rare here. That is also going to be a big deal because we do not have removal for that. Discard a card, get a copy of another creature with haste. When it dies, draw a card. That's so good with their Phyrexian Rager. Super rough to not have the removal for that right now. Because they get to make a copy of Phyrexian Rager, draw a card when it hits the board, and draw a card when it dies in their end step. So they just get even more value than we do off this Mishra. Gate to Tumbledown can draw us a card, and it's our 6th land, so I don't really want to discard it to Mishra. Kind of want to play that still, play the Prowler as well. Things are looking pretty bad for us. Jaxis can definitely take over this game with card advantage, especially with the Phyrexian Rager on their board. Did not mill a land, so we just get a 2-2 there. Luckily, we milled some relatively weak cards. Mishra's Onslaught and Sentinel Stalwart would be pretty bad draws at this point. Whirling Strike would still be okay. But yep, opponent just goes straight to Value Town. They even have the Persistent Specimen to discard, which means they still kind of get it on the board later. Yep, and there's the Specimen back on the board. Really not liking this Jaxis nonsense at all. It is very bad for us. We draw another card now. Conscripted Infantry. That's not particularly great here. I think I have to use this gate. We need to draw some of our removal. We specifically drafted a deck with a good amount of it, so seek an online card should be helpful. Try to get there. Alright, we're going to have to trade into the Soul Tender. I have no choice but to attack with the Juggernaut, obviously. I believe the Soul Tender can only return creatures from their grave to hand. Yes, so they can't return Liliana, but they can get some decent creatures. A Flyer or a Body Dropper. Body Dropper pretty good with Jaxis. Yeah, that's going to be scary. Kind of just need to use the gate. Is that a Sorcery Speed ability? No. So I could do this at instant speed, but I might hit like a 1-mana Sorcery Speed card like the Sentinel Stalwart. Bitter Reunion, not great. I might even use Mishra, discard the infantry, draw a card. That might be how bad we need to kill this Jaxus. Getting low on cards. I mean, not really. 17's still quite a bit, but we are milling out first at this rate currently. That could change quickly, though. Opponent is drawing 2 extra cards a turn. Forge Boss, you... Yeah, I mean, I need something massive to change the state of the game here and put it in my favor, so I think I just need to dig really aggressively and discard cards like infantry, just looking for my 6-mana dragon and stuff like that. Just removal in the first place. None of those are that. I guess we're gonna have to Bitter Reunion, discard the gate to draw 2. Although the gate is a land and a card draw later, maybe we discard the Stoneseeker instead. There's a Dragon Engine. Obstinate Baloth gains a ton of life too. That's a thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This will be our 7th mana. Next turn, 1 mana away from playing a Dragon Engine as a 5/5 flyer. That could kill our opponent relatively quickly if we can get in there in the sky. Alright. Baloth would have been really good to have when they had the Liliana early. That would have been super sweet. Because if our opponent makes us discard the Baloth, we get to put it right on the board. Check my deck list real quick. I'm certain we have removal in here. Yeah, we have an Excavation Explosion, a Mishra's Command, and Unleash Shell. We still have 3 more removal spells in the deck. Get this Jaxus out of here. This Forge Boss is also becoming an issue. Luckily, we did just gain 4 life off the Baloth, though. Give us a little more breathing room against that ability. Duplicate of Forge Boss, just going for straight damage now. That's pretty bad. Use the Soul Tender to pick up the Body Dropper. That'll keep getting bigger because they're going to keep sacking a creature in the end step to Jaxus's ability. There's the Excavation Explosion. Might be a little late, but it's still our best play here. Yep, I mean, that's definitely the best play that we have available. 1 mana away from dropping the Dragon Engine as a 5/5. If I had enough to play Dragon Engine here, I might go for that over Explosion, but since I don't, we just get rid of the Jaxus. Dang, I'm 1 mana off from using the gate as well here. At 12 life, this is going to be painful. This Body Dropper gets to attack with Menace as well if they sacrifice creatures. Very good with the Persistent Specimen that they have on board. Forge Boss keeps doing 2 damage to us every turn that they sacrifice something. Looking all kinds of bad. Body Dropper is going to attack in. With Persistent Specimen, if they sacrifice that, that's going to be a 4/4. In order to make it a 5/5, they need to sacrifice Specimen and another card, so I think I block with 6 power toughness here. They'd have to sack the rest of their board to make that a 6/6. So they have to have a trick in their hand. Can't really afford to take the damage, because they're definitely at least going to sacrifice the Specimen. I guess they could sack the Specimen, return it, sack it again, but we still kill the Body Dropper if that's the case here. But yeah, again, if we let that in with their Forge Boss on the board, we're taking 1,000,000 damage. Alright, so they are going to bring the Specimen back. Sacking it again one more time doesn't actually do anything here. They still trade into one creature unless they have another trick. For 1 mana? Oh my god, of course they have the 1 mana trick alongside that. That's irritating. Yep, that's pretty efficient. Body Dropper's a 5/5 permanently as well now, so the only removal we have that can kill it is Unleash Shell. I don't know if I can even rely on Dragon Engine anymore, because if I go to my turn and I just play Dragon Engine pass, they just give Body Dropper Menace off the Specimen, so I'd have to double block it anyway. I don't think I can rely on Dragon Engine here. I think I have to go for something better. Because again, if my plan next turn is just tap out for Dragon Engine, I just die to this Body Dropper. 6/6 Menace, I double block. Forge Boss does 2 to me. I take 6 from those 2 attacking, and I'm down to like 2 life, and I lose the Dragon Engine anyway. So I think I need to bank on drawing my Tyrant or something, so I actually need to discard it here and seek off the gate, which I can do thanks to the Tyrant giving me double red, or the Mishra giving me double red here. Because I'm discarding an artifact. Alright. Got an Arbalest Engineers and a land. And there's the Tyrant. Then I was banking on drawing 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't have enough mana to play the Tyrant and the Engineers. If I did, I could spend both to kill Body Dropper. I can kill Forge Boss now, which could be enough to slow them down enough to not kill me next turn. In which case I kill them with Tyrant, because I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Close to lethal. Three, 4, 5, 6. Tyrant. Kill the Forge Boss. Paste it in. I'm going to want to discard Engineers for something else next turn. I don't think so. Is there any draw in my deck that's better than Engineers? Is Boulder Branch Golem, Automaton, Unleash Shell, Mishra's Command? There could be. I'm going to save 1 mana for that. Okay, so they're dead if they can't kill the Tyrant. So if I can survive this turn and they can't kill Tyrant, they'll be dead here. So that's the plan. That's our out this game. Seek a card off gate to Tumbledown. They're looking for removal for Tyrant. They don't make that play if they have lethal in hand, or if they have removal in hand. Balduvian Atrocity can return something from their grave to the battlefield with that kicker effect, but they'll have to sack it in the end step. They return the Specimen. That's not going to do it. Tyrant is going to kill them in the sky next turn. That's going to be game off the skin of our teeth here. And they're going to scoop them up 1-0 to start off this jump-in event. A very hard-fought battle for our first game, fought through a Liliana, and their other rare in the deck also going uncontested for a while. Jax is really getting them a lot of value. That feels Feels pretty good. Really dug for our outs there, thought it out, discarded and drew pretty aggressively, dropping the Dragon Engine, just digging for the Tyrant, and got rewarded in the end with some great luck in the last draw step there. So we'll absolutely take it 1-0 to start off the Arena Decathlon jump-in event. Here we are on the play in Game 2 with a mono red hand, but what looks like a very strong mono red draft deck, which I will absolutely keep. This is definitely the kind of deck I would be happy to draft in Brothers War. Let's go for it here. Opponent is on red as well. They're going to start with a Voldaren Stinger, so they're on an aggressive start, and that card's actually pretty solid against my opening hand because it has first strike while attacking. Pretty good against a 1 toughness creature like the Scrapwork Mutt. Definitely need to draw more lands here, so I think I'm going to discard the Dragon Engine. It's just the slowest, dirtiest card here. I don't really want to play it as a 1-3 when I can play this as a 3-2 haste. But I could discard Juggernaut because it has the Unearth effect to use later for value. So either of those seem like a decent discard. I think I'm going to go for the Dragon Engine. I just think it's a little extra slow. Drawn to a Blanchwood Prowler. If we hit a forest, that's going to be a super helpful draw because that can hit us an additional land as we play it. We're definitely not blocking the Stinger. Our opponent's on red-white. They go for Flaming Fist Duskguard now. Ooh. Really not what I like to see. Very aggressive start from our opponent. Luckily, though, we do have Blanchwood Prowler here to trade into that as just a 1-1 to block their 3-1. So I do get an attack off with the Mutt here because I just want to set up to make sure I'm playing Tyrant rather than playing an Automaton, trying to out-aggro my opponent. Their deck seems really aggressive. Seems like maybe not the strat here. Let's just try to play bigger cards than them. Maybe save the Automaton for when we have 7 mana. I'm actually going to grab the second forest here. That might be wrong, but I do have a double green card in the deck. The Baloth that gains 4, so I want to make sure that I'm able to play everything in my deck. As soon as I have double green, though, I pretty much am going to want only mountains from that point on for cards like Tyrant. Daybreak Combatants. Well, yep, that's wildly aggressive. Stinger gets extra damage in. We trade into the Duskguard easy, but we take 6 here down to 13. And I may even have to just play this Automaton as a 3-2 to survive for now. At this point, I mean, I'm at 13, they deal 4 damage on board, so if they spend a removal spell to like get my Mutt out of the way, then I only take 4, I'm down to 9. Probably still hit here. Just save the Mutt up. They need an incredibly good hand to be able to afford both a removal spell and a way to do more than 4 damage on board. Like to kill the Mutt and do extra damage. It would have to be like 1 mana removal spell for the Mutt and a 2 mana or 3 mana haste creature, which is possible, but oh my god, that is so bad. This deck is so aggressive. Attack with 2 creatures to flip the Deadly Dancer so they get the double red to give one of them +1/+0, and now they have a big Trampler on the board. That's definitely going to be an issue. At least we get to kill the Daybreak Combatants here. But they also can use that double red on anything else, so if they have a combat trick to spend the double red on, this could be really devastating for us. They're going to play it on a creature, though, which means their board is expanding at an unreasonable rate. Really banking on our Tyrant of Kerr Ridges to bring us back into this one. Things are looking very bad again, but they looked bad last game, too. Okay, kill our 3-2, get a treasure. Not terrible. Oh, Boulder Branch Golem can really get us back in the game as well. That can really do things. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, we have our plan, we have our curve. We play the Juggernaut, try to trade the Juggernaut into the Deadly Dancer, then we play a Tyrant and kill one of their creatures, then we play a Golem and gain 6 life. That's our plan here. If we can survive a few turns, it should be a good one. Oh my god, Sea Tower Imprisonment though, another busted removal spell. Completely shuts off our creature and gives our opponents a 2-1 that puts another copy of it in their hand when it attacks. Alright, I need to hit a land next turn. Mishra's Onslaught's a really horrible card. That's the one thing I don't like about our deck. That's my least favorite card in it by far. But actually, it's not completely terrible here. Make 2 1/1s, block their 2 2/1s. That could actually help us here. Yeah, I would be so much happier if this was just like a 25th land in the deck or something, because it would be incredibly helpful for positions like this. Honeymoon Hearse, a 5/5 trample they can crew up that I'll basically be forced to block and lose my Tyrant. Unfortunate, we did not hit a land here for our Boulder Branch Golem, but I can play an Arbalest Engineers to shoot their Soldiers of the Watch or their Voldaren Stinger. It might actually be better to shoot the Voldaren Stinger because of the first strike. And this way they don't have 2 creatures on the board to crew the hearse unless they play another creature this turn. I could also just hold up the 4 mana for Mishra's Onslaught to make 2 1/1 soldiers to block with to kill the soldiers. I think it's better to go Engineers. And I think I shoot the Stinger here, actually. So I can get around this first strike, because this first strike will get to a point where they can just double buff it, have a 5-power first striker, and I have no active blocks for that for the rest of the game. So yeah, I think I have to just Engineers shoot the Stinger here. Hope they don't have another creature. If they do, I have to trade my Tyrant into their hearse, which doesn't feel good, but it can keep us in the game, which is really important. Can't really afford to take 5 to the face. There's a lot of 3 damage burn spells in existence. I could get really, really competitive here and look up the cards they played and try to see what jump-in packets they have to see what cards they could have, but I'm not going to go that far. Just in deck building, I got competitive here. I would take a lot of time to also look through what their Myriad and Vampires or whatever decks they have do. Oh my god. When it enters the battlefield, another non-token creature gains double team till end of turn. When it attacks, conjure a duplicate of another attack creature in the hand. That's very tremendously bad. Very tremendously bad for us. And now the Soldiers has double team. However, they're just going to crew the hearse for sure. So it doesn't really matter. I'm gonna have to trade the Tyrant off, and now I have to deal with an older Raven Guard, just repeatedly putting more creatures in their hand. Oh my god, they even get their hearse. They give it extra power so it tramples over and give it double team. This is an insane jump-in deck. I thought my deck was sweet, and this is just Onslaught. That's so bad for us. I think we're out of this one. I got the Boulder Branch Golem mana, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough. I have another hearse now. $12 life. 6/5 to block whatever they send in. Could attack both and just get multiple soldiers in their hand, but then I kill older. 2/2 isn't really changing my blocks too much right now. Get that extra damage in so we have a chance at finding lethal out of nowhere later. An Obliterating Bolt. Obliterating Bolt on older is a big deal, and then I still have the mana up to use Gate to Tumble Down to draw a card afterwards. And I get to hold up Mishra's Onslaught. So they crew in response here, so I don't get to attack with Boulder Branch Golem or Arbalest Engineers. Fair enough. Still get rid of that card, and then we pass turn. Mounted Dread Knight, just a 5/4 trample. I think we're drawing a card off the Gate to Tumble Down. If that is the play. Although 6, 7, 8 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 damage from lethal if I let this in. Oh no, I'm lethal if I reanimate the mutt and then +2/+0 to my board. If they attack here, they're dead. Yeah, no, we're good. We take this. Mishra's Onslaught, my least favorite card in the deck, is going to come in clutch here. So currently doing 8 damage. Make it 10. Make it 16. Send in the squad. Overextended just a little bit there so that we could find the crackback for lethal, and it's 2-0 now in 2 incredibly close games in a row. Spicy, way spicier games than I was expecting out of the jump-in event. This has been wild. We are heading into game 3 now. Here we are in game 3. Opponent is on the play. We definitely need to hit some lands for this hand, but we do have the Bitter Reunion letting us discard a card to draw some. We could discard this combat trick if I'm not going to have early game plays anyway. So if I don't draw any lands, I do have the Bitter Reunion to try to save us there, and we're on the draw, which gives us a little more opportunities to hit the land drops on time, so I am going to keep this hand. Because while the amount of mana is a bit low, the power level of the cards is quite high. And we've got a little bit of card draw to help get us out of any mana screw with Mishra and Bitter Reunion. Yoshin Dissident is the first play from our opponent. Every time an artifact enters the battlefield under their control, they get a counter on a creature they control. Could just immediately blow that up with my Mishra's Command, which honestly doesn't seem like that bad of an idea. However, it's not that scary of a card until they have multiple things out. I actually don't know what I'm even gonna discard to the Bitter Reunion now. Probably Whirling Strike, awkwardly. I do think that card is good, but... Alright, that worked out pretty well. I was gonna say, I think the Whirling Strike is good, but the problem here is that we don't need more than 4 lands, so if I discard the Whirling Strike, which I think is the weakest card in the hand at that point, because we don't have any creatures on board for a while, the problem is we probably just draw more lands that we don't need, but since I drew a 7 mana card in a land, I'm actually quite happy that we hit more mana, because now we're trying to get to 7 instead of 4. Griff Rider from our opponent, a flyer here that can have training. So if they attack with creatures that are bigger than it, they're going to make it bigger throughout the game. So like a green-white +1/+1 counter-themed deck. Kind of feel like I kill the flyer here. Pretty sure I kill something. And then next turn we play Obstinate Baloth. Although Command is my only removal spell in hand right now, so if I use it now and then they play something better later, that'll be pretty bad for me. Only other real line is Mishra. Could go Stoneseeker, I guess, get the Power Stone to get the Boulder Branch Golem down sooner. But Mishra uses all 3 of my mana. I get to attack and see if I trade with the Rider. This seems fine. Again, I wish I knew the decks a little better, so I know exactly how scary this kind of start is, and if I need to just shoot something with Mishra's Command. I feel like they could have the Scrapwork Cohort in the Yoshin Dissident deck, which would make a really disgusting turn 4 play, where they get 2 artifacts on the board, double buff the Griff Rider. Alright, Epic Confrontation, sure. Pretty happy to see them just kill Mishra here. Mishra's not going to be doing much for us for quite a while. We don't have stuff we really want to discard until we have 7 lands on board, and then we draw an 8th. So going to be quite a while before that matters. Allenbach Escort, give a creature with +1/+1 counter on it, lifelink and indestructible till end of turn. Interesting, doesn't really do much right now. Again, things can be pretty explosive once they do put some counters on things, but not at that point yet. We can just drop Baloth. Stop their attacks on the ground. Again, if they play an artifact, though, they get a counter on the Griff Rider, and then I can't shoot the Griff Rider with Mishra's Command, because then they save it with the Allenbach Escort's ability, giving it indestructible. Flaming Fist Dustguard, well, that's not an artifact, so still no counter on the Griff Rider. Okay. I'm pretty sure we're just going to kill the Griff Rider at this point because it's their only flyer, it's their only creature that can reasonably attack. And then we'll also play the Stone Seeker to get the Power Stone for all these artifacts we want to play. Deal 2 to the Griff Rider, give our Baloth +2/+0. Don't even think I'm attacking with it here, but might as well. And drop the Stone Seeker. Actually, that was a bad sequence. It gives haste, doesn't it? Oh, it gives haste. I forgot it gives haste. I should have played the Stone Seeker and then given the Stone Seeker haste and +2/+0 because of its menace. They'd have to block with 2 creatures to kill it, which they probably wouldn't want to do. Perimeter Patrol. Some explosive things will happen if they play some artifacts, but they haven't drawn any yet, which is pretty lucky for us. I'm guessing that their second deck, their green-white training deck or whatever, just has like no artifacts in it, so they have to rely on only the artifacts that came with the Ocean Dissident, which could be awkward. If they want to use a removal spell to kill the Baloth, that's fine. And they may have just misread an ability there, unfortunately. Yeah, looks like they did, so that's pretty great for us then. 4, 5, 6 mana. 7 after this Ridgeline pops off, which means I can play these as the 7 mana versions, which is definitely what I want to do. Play a Scrapwork Mutt here, discard nothing, losing a bit of value there. I probably should have just used Gate to Mannerborn instead. Because this is a good enter the battlefield effect for later when I actually have expendable cards. But putting things on board is also fine here. So they're going to use their own Gate to the Citadel. Draw a card. The 4 toughness, it does have 4 toughness. Not in love with the Automaton here because of their 4 power Perimeter Patrol. I might even take a 1-for-1 trade of my 4/4 down into the 4/3 if they attack in. Although I guess if they attack in, they don't have the Perimeter Patrol to block the Automaton in the first place. We've got huge life gain coming. Yeah, we actually just take this and then we crack back very hard because we know we have life gain coming. Arbalest Engineers, that is really good. It's almost worth playing over one of these in case they draw an artifact because we just shoot the Dissident before it does anything. Because again, getting a +1/+1 counter is really valuable right now when they have the Escort down. I think I just want to get aggro though. Play a 6/4 while I don't have a good block lined up. And all this in, they're cracking back for like 6 damage, and I have a Mutt to block if something really disastrous happens. Yeah, I think I'm just getting wildly aggressive here. Take it all, that's not a good sign. That could mean they do have an explosive crackback. Devoted Paladin, okay. That's a very good crackback, but not quite like we're just dead. Take 7 here to kill this creature. And because we're not dead, let's get the Bulge Branch Golem down here. It'd be really helpful. They're at 6 life, so they can't let our Boulder Branch Golem hit them, so we might even just play the Golem and give it haste off Bitter Reunion. Yeah, that's going to be really good for us. They have to double block. Well, they don't have to double block Boulder Branch Golem. They have to block everything, though. They have to block there, and then block one of these two as well. Yeah, this actually ends up just being a great attack. Alright, so they're down to 4. We still have a Boulder Branch Golem and a Stone Seeker. They have a trainee with nothing to train it up. And another land for them a bit flooded out here in the end. That is going to be quite beneficial for us, and they are going to scoop it up. We are now going to be 3-0 in the Arena Decathlon Jump-In event. Here we are in Game 4 of Jump-In. Very nice opening hand. Turn 2 Rock Hunter, turn 3 Arbalest Engineers, Mutt to help us draw whatever we need later. Definitely like it. We also have a removal spell here, Unleash Shell, which is very important. And our opponent is on blue. 2 islands. Alright, looks like we're going for the aggro Arbalest Engineers. Not something you see a whole ton, but if our opponent just has no play turn 1, turn 2, let's get aggressive. Hit them for 6, put them down to 14 immediately. Turn 3 play is going to be a Cloudkin Seer. A little awkward, we could have shot that down with Engineers. But it's not the craziest blocker ever, especially if I draw the cheap removal for it to just keep that damage coming in. I think I'm playing a Mutt and not discarding a card because I want to play Unleash Shell next turn. Because if I play Unleash Shell next turn, I'm guaranteeing a boatload of damage. Again. So we hit for 6, they're down to 8. They're just dead. If they play 1 creature, we just go land, Unleash Shell, that's game. If they sleep with the fishes, that's playing a creature and getting rid of one of our attackers, which just barely lets them survive. They're going to be at 1 life after an Unleash Shell. Tons of draws to finish the game here. We have direct damage like Excavation Explosion. We have some haste creatures we could get. They need to get 2 blockers to even survive in the first place. That works as 2 blockers. Frostfist Strider certainly does it. Obstinate Baloth for us. Do I pass the turn or do I attack in with Mutt to get it in the graveyard to unearth and discard a card, draw a card? I think I just pass turn. Play Baloth pass turn here. Keep this land in hand for when I do unearth the Mutt in the future. And the most expensive, well no, there's some 7 mana cards in the deck, I guess, technically. They have 2 blockers against 3 attackers. They need a trick here to survive. Well, they do have something instant speed. We'll find out what it is soon enough. Put the Baloth back in our hand here with some kind of spell. Alright, that's not horrible for us. Definitely not horrible for us. We lose our Rock Hunter for nothing, but we still kill the Lookout, recast the Baloth, and have the Mutt to replay next turn for a hasting attacker. I've got a great land to play this turn with Gate to Tumble Down. So they still need to play another blocker because we're attacking with 2 creatures next turn. Echo Inspector, there's another blocker for them. Another land, 3 mana up, could be an additional blocker after this. Nope. We draw into a Blanchwood Prowler here. I can play Blanchwood Prowler and use Gate to Tumble Down, which is probably a little better than just going Scrapwork Mutt because I'm not going to get a good attack off with it here anyway. They're at 1 life, so I actually just pick up this land because the difference between a 1/1 and a 2/2 is pretty meaningless when they're at 1 life. Winged Words, draw a couple cards. They can definitely still win this game. Again, we have a lot of outs that just kill them on the spot, but if we don't draw into those, like, they have card advantage by a mile. So if we get pretty unlucky with our draws, still definitely a way for our opponent to win this game. There's Excavation Explosion. We can threaten lethal without doing it yet, though, which is definitely the play, because then we force our opponent to spend their mana, stopping our Scrapwork Mutt from killing them, and then they don't have the mana to counter the Excavation Explosion. And I guess they just don't even have a way to stop the Unearth in the first place, so that is going to be lethal. We are now 4-0, undefeated so far, only 3 wins away from getting our first Arena Decathlon token. All we need to do now is win 1 more game than we lose. Let's see if we can do that as we head into Game 5. Oh dear. Oh dear. Game 5, we're going to be against Croakies, who is a streamer that plays a lot and plays very competitively, so I'm actually quite worried here. This is a risky hand. We're on the draw, though, and we've got that Tyrant at 6 mana whenever we get there. It will take quite a while to do so, though, with 2 mana in the opening hand. This is a risky keep, but I think I go for it. Definitely a hand where we could lose to keeping this and just not drawing lands. But good lord, if we hit those lands, it's going to be incredibly good. Go for the keep here. Croakies goes for the keep after the free mulligan, and we immediately hit a land. Great start. Play that gate to Mannerborn out of the way. They're on black-white with Soldiers of the Watch to start it off. Already not a good time for us. At least we drew into a Blanchwood Prowler, which is actually a beautiful play for us here, because that gives us a good blocker for the soldiers and another land, which is what we need. Now we're looking really good. We have at least 4 mana in the hand. We have the trade for Soldiers of the Watch. They will get another one into their hand they can play here, but the other one isn't going to have double team or anything. So there it is, Soldiers of the Watch number 2, and then land number 3. 3 mana, go Conscripted Infantry, which can trade into the soldiers and then still leave behind another 1/1. So we can keep making these kind of 1-for-1 trades and being okay with it. I think I'm cool with that here. We don't have anything to spend the Hornstone Seeker's Power Stone mana on, so I don't really want to go for that right now. I suppose I could even... Oh, what is this? Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create 2 treasure tokens. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Definitely don't want to deal with 2 treasure tokens and their ability to sack treasures to give things -X/-X. We're definitely going to kill that with Unleash Shell next turn. Can't afford it yet, but definitely the play next turn. I think I go Stone Seeker and Audacity here to make both of my creatures big enough to threaten to kill the hireling so that creature can't get in here. So we have 2 different ways to block the Grim Hireling to make sure they don't hit us and get any treasure. They seem to be the black-white Aristocrats deck with Minthara in it. So treasure tokens can be really valuable even if the Hireling's gone. Oh, are they going to kill both creatures here with cheap removal? That would be very bad. Yep, certainly are. At least we draw a card off Audacity, but they're going to get the 2 treasure tokens. But we will kill the Hireling after that, and then we have a Tyrant to kill their next play. Yeah, gotta play... I think I have to play the untapped land and just kill the Hireling right now. Much as I want to get this gate out of the way so I know I can Tyrant on turn 6. Pretty sure I have to just kill the Hireling. And my apologies if you can hear my stomach, it's a little bit angry at me. I don't generally eat breakfast, so it starts grumbling at like 11 a.m. It's like, it's almost lunchtime. We're not quite there, stomach. You need to calm down. Alright, Croakies might be out of stuff to do right now, which would be very good for us. Because we've got a Tyrant to play that should win the game pretty quickly if we get it down. We've got a Boulder Branch Golem to play as well. Not going to play this Bitter Union because I don't have anything I want to discard now. I've got a great 6 mana play and a great 7 mana play. Croakies has drawn a card off of one of their gates. Croakies actually has 2 gates down here, so he can draw another card here. Boulder Branch Golem time. Definitely want to draw removal on the weaker card, so we definitely go for the Boulder Branch Golem. And trade for Ghast is fine. Yep, so there's 1 unused gate over there. We have actually 2 unused gates, so we're doing really well on the card advantage front. Feels like a great spot to be in here. And we also want to hold off on the Tyrant so we can use it as a removal spell if Croakies manages to land another really scary threat like another Grim Hireling or something. He could definitely have some monstrosities in there. Here's a Boulder Branch Golem. Pass the turn. Croakies now going to play a Nefarious Imp, a 2/1 flyer. Not that bad for us. We'll attack him with the Boulder Branch Golem. If Croakies doesn't do anything to kill it, then we'll play the Tyrant to kill the Imp. And we're in a position to kill Croakies very quickly. Alright, block with the Imp. Just to scry here, or is Croakies going to finish it off with some removal? Maybe just a scry here. This might be wrong, but I'm going to play it a little safe here and just go for like Bitter Reunion and a gate. The good thing about this play is now, the turn that I play Tyrant, I can also give it haste. So this is hedging my bets where if Croaky's is holding on to removal to kill the Boulder Branch, Croaky's can't kill the Tyrant, and then next turn I can play it haste and still kill Croaky's in one hit. So we still have a really good line next turn because we can just give this thing haste. Anyway, for lethal next turn. Manticore, so they do have the removal to kill the Boulder Branch Golem, and I don't think they would have done that if I played Tyrant of Kerr Ridges. So pretty happy with that line there. Again, it's a pretty safe line because of Bitter Union's ability to give haste, making it feel like we kind of still played Tyrant that turn, because we can just give haste the turn we play it. Yeah, no way to kill that, so we'll take 3. We'll kill it with the Tyrant later, but for now, no way to kill that. Use our gate to tumble down, get a Blitz Automaton. That's another great play to line up here. I think I just go Tyrant. If I just go Blitz Automaton, I'm hitting for 7 and he's hitting for 3. Could just do that. Still playing it really safe with the Tyrant, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Play a little bit unsafe here and just go for the big play. Removal spell. Kill the Tyrant. Valiant Farewell. When it dies, they draw a card. That's fine. And their next creature is going to be bigger. The other thing? Sure. Alright, Croaky's is dead in 1 more attack. Because of all this red mana, we've got 5 of it. 9, 10. Actually, one mana away from Croaky's being dead in 1 attack, but we do have this giant hasting 6/4 that probably would kill Croaky's. But there's some blockers on the ground, so 6/4 on the ground doesn't really matter anymore. The Tyrant still definitely does in the sky. Very good card draw coming in here for Croaky's. Priest of Ancient Lore. Nice, juicy, high-power Horde Robber from the Valiant Farewell's Perpetual ability. It looks like no removal for the Tyrant. Big news for us. Again, Automaton does just get kind of double blocked here, so I kind of just want to dump a bunch of mana into Tyrants. Guarantee the kill in just 2 attacks. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we go Rock Hunter plus Gate. And this is enough to easily kill in 2 swings. Croaky's has got to have something here. If we're thinking it out, 1 card in hand during our end step. Maybe trying to decide if it's better to use some kind of small, like -2/-2 removal on the Rock Hunter, or save it to maybe stack it up with another creature. Looking through the graveyard, maybe deciding something to return. Or Croaky's is a streamer, could just be talking to chat and everything about the course of the game and everything. I haven't watched a ton of Croaky's, but I assume that is something that could be happening right now. Alright, it is going to be a Graveyard Resurrection on the Nefarious Imp, so they have a blocker for our flyer to survive this next turn. This Ghost Lantern, whenever a creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on the creature. Okay, so when one of their creatures dies, whatever has the Lantern equipped is going to get bigger. So they're going to put that on a non-imp creature here, because the imp's just going to die this turn. Right, so on to the Horde Robber. Alright, we use our gate to Manorborn. Whirling Strike. Well, that is going to be well over lethal. They don't have removal here, and I think if Croaky's did have removal, Croaky's definitely would have used it by now. Unless it was top decked right now. I mean, I guess I don't even have to buff it. I can just see if this resolves. I did have to buff it once. Make it 7 power, trample for 6. Alright. That is going to be game. We just resolved the Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, and Croakies could not draw any removal. Pretty simple stuff there, but I will take it nonetheless. We are now 5-0, still undefeated in the first Arena Decathlon event. It's been a real spicy one, so only 2 wins to go to potentially get our first Arena Decathlon token. And again, just need 2 wins before we hit 3 losses, so I think our odds are getting pretty good here. Don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but I'm hopeful. Let's see how it does. Here we are in Game 6 of the Jump-In event, another hand with our Bomb rare that we will absolutely keep. Got a Rock Hunter on turn 2 as well. This Stalwart hasn't really done anything for us, but maybe it will this game. It can help us play a Tyrant 1 turn early, which could be a thing. Opponent is on black with a Gate of the Black Dragon as their first play. Black-white again, could be a very similar deck to Croakies last game. Rescuer Chwinga is the first play, which is the kind of card you would see in that Croakies-style deck. Blanchwood Prowler into a forest, play it, and Stalwart seems reasonable. Obviously, if I don't hit a forest, this is pretty bad. Although hitting a tap land is good here. Great land to play this turn. But yeah, not having a forest for this Baloth is pretty rough. But we're digging for it. We did what we could. Probably use the Mutt to try to get there as well now. Mutt also blocks this Phyrexian Rager well. Excavation Explosion, that's very good with the Sentinel Stalwart because we can tap the Power Stone token to the Stalwart to get a mana that we can use on anything. And a mana of any color as well, so we can cast the Baloth without the forest actually. Minthara, 4 toughness Minthara is. We up the intensity if I make this trade. Still gonna go for it here, I think. As soon as if we hit a land, we can just Tyrant away Minthara anyway. And this is a pretty good trade for us if Minthara weren't on board. Okay, so I can't kill Minthara immediately, but I can next turn with Tyrant of Kerr Ridges, which is going to be the line. So for now, we play an Obstinate Baloth and pass. Yeah. Could have attacked with both my 1/1s instead, and then if they blocked with Minthara, I could Explosion her, but it was a little not worth it when I can just blow her up with a Tyrant anyway. Phyrexian Warhorse, big stuff on the ground. Now we drop the Tyrant, kill the Minthara. That puts the Warhorse to 3/3. The token's a 1/1 we can attack with Baloth. Get the 2-for-1 trade. Kind of a 1-for-1 trade, but still fine. Gets their stuff off the board for our other creatures to maybe send in. Now they probably do have removal for the Tyrant, which isn't going to be good for us, but kind of another play to get rid of this Minthara, and if we let Minthara stick around, we're going to be in a very bad spot. Yep, there's the removal for the Tyrant. Got it. They have not used their gate yet. But we have 2 gates that we haven't used yet. Ooh, Dragon Engine. We're 1 mana away from playing that as a 5/5 flyer, which is going to be incredibly good. If I Explosion here, I can use that Power Stone as the Dragon Engine mana. And this is the only time I can Explosion away the Warhorse, because as soon as they have 1 mana up, they can just sacrifice the 1/1 to save it, so this seems reasonable. I'm not going to play the Mutt here. 21 life, do I want to? Yeah, I want to keep the Stalwart. I'm not attacking with Stalwart because I want to keep it around. Like, I don't want to block with it, but I just don't want to trade it into a 1/1 soldier. Soldiers of the Watch. Land. 2 cards in hand. They don't have the mana to use a gate right now. Doing pretty good for us. We just play a Dragon Engine now. All their stuff has 1 toughness. So we get that 1 power creature attacking in again. Could be Manticore is the play this turn. Or a different trick. Blade Brand. Okay, that works too. Still kill the 1/1, and that's 1 less way to kill our Dragon Engine. Oh my god, I'm 1 mana. I miscounted on Dragon Engine. I actually needed a Stalwart up to play it as the 8-drop. Oh my god, I shouldn't have attacked with Prowler. That was loose. I just miscounted. It's a very, very simple misplay there. I thought I had 7 lands and a Power Stone. Alright, well, it's not the end of the world, because I can play a Stone Seeker and activate a gate here. But that's a significantly worse line than what we could have had going on. Nefarious Imp, fair. Not a big problem. Send in the Soldier. Now that I have double Power Stone, I can trade the Stalwart off pretty freely. Use a gate. Get an Audacity. Actually kind of spicy here. Scry to the top. Dragon Engine's still going to kill them in 1 attack if they can't kill it immediately. Scry to the top into Seek from the Gate. Well, there goes the card they put on top. Mishra with Haste and Audacity in hand can just put a lot of extra damage on the board out of nowhere. And I'm going to hit for 3 here, putting them to 6 life. I really like this. Because they don't have a removal spell in hand, which we know they couldn't have scryed a removal spell to the top because they seeked and shuffled their library. If they don't have a removal spell, they're straight dead, so they have to removal spell the Dragon Engine, and then even if they do that, hasting Mishra with an Audacity is threatening a lot of damage, plus a Scrapwork Mutt to unearth. Can do just a lot next turn. So they're going to return Minthara to their hand with Phyrexian Missionary. They can play Minthara at Intensity 2, which would make Nefarious Imp 4 power, which is not enough to kill the Dragon Engine. And again, if they don't kill the Dragon Engine, we can just put Audacity on the Dragon Engine to give that trample to get through the Nefarious Imp. If they don't play Minthara here, the only thing that makes sense is if they have removal for Dragon Engine. If it's Blade Brand or Manticore style removal again, then they just die if I Audacity. So I think I go for Audacity here. And we hope it's like Blade Brand or Manticore, which we know that this deck has that style of removal. It is, it's Manticore. Thank goodness we played against Croakies a game before this, because that just made it really easy to just play around that and get the kill here. Trample over for lethal. And we're now 6-0, 1 win away from our first Arena Decathlon token. It's final boss time. Here we are in the final boss, what could be the final game of the Jump In Arena Decathlon event with an excellent opening hand. We have a turn 2 Rock Hunter with a gate on the board for card draw later, a Mutt to get us out of any Mana Flood or Mana Screw, and a Tyrant as our big win condition when we get to the high mana costs, a definite keep. Opponent is on the play here, so we are on the draw, and they're going to start with a Death Bonnet Sprout, which allows them to mill a card every turn. And if they get 3 or more creatures in their grave, that'll flip into a 3/3 that can keep getting bigger and bigger. So very scary. Once their graveyard gets pretty full. Doesn't do too much for now, but it does block a 3/1 well. Because it blocks a 3/1 well, and I want to get to 6 mana, I might go for Scrapwork Mutt instead of Rock Hunter. And the plan is Mutt into Mishra into Juggernaut into Tyrant, so I might even discard the Hunter here. Although again, Mishra's been playing pretty poorly, but it's probably better than Rock Hunter on this board. Maybe mono green. Nothing but forests here. Oh yeah, they are green-red. I forgot they did Mill a Mountain. Scrapwork Mutt. They could have the same red-green deck as us. They could have a Tyrant of Kerr Ridges or a Titania's Command. I would really like to not see a Titania's Command, if possible. But that would be some justice. Play against the same deck we've been running the whole time. Definitely looks like it. They have the Whirling Strike as well. Actually, wait a second. Whirling Strike... I don't know if that was from our red-green deck or our mono-red half. They could have the Mishra half. And not actually the red-green Beat Sticks half. I forgot what it's called. We've seen Scrapwork Mutt and Whirling Strike. Whirling Strike is not in the Mishra's half. Obstinate Baloth as well. Okay, they definitely have the same green-red deck as us, which is a very good one. Perfectly fair trade here. Does get their graveyard more full towards flipping the Sprout later, but sure, seems balanced. Ooh, Mishra's Command. Gonna be great removal later. Won't do much for now. Probably discard card, draw a card with Mishra. Mishra into Death Bonnet Sprout is not a horrible trade, so I'll do that during their turn. We just play a gate and pass. Is this only mill from their own grave? Oh, they can exile a card from any graveyard. Yeah, if this Death Bonnet Hulk flips, that's really bad for us. Did not realize that part. We might have to blow it up with Mishra's Command. There's a Rock Hunter. A 3/1 reach. I really don't want to use a Mishra's Command on the Sprout. Okay, I'll absolutely trade Mishra into the Sprout to keep that from exiling any of our Unearth cards later. And I actually think I'm not going to discard draw with Mishra here because we do need the 6 mana to make it to Tyrant. We have exactly enough mana to get to Tyrant. We need that mana to play Juggernaut next turn and have a command later as well. Is this a green combat trick? That would have to be from the Innistrad deck. Yikes, yeah. Green combat trick from the Innistrad deck that we haven't seen yet, so couldn't really play around that super easily. That is pretty good for our opponent here. But they're down to 1 card in hand, so they might not have their big scary bomb yet. Okay, Juggernaut into Tyrant is still going to be a great play. Great lineup these next 2 turns. So let's go for it. No, they flipped the Hulk. Well, might have to blow up the Hulk with Tyrant instead of the Baloth now. Well, I guess if I blew up the Baloth with the Tyrant, it would also flip the Hulk. Alright, that's a lot of damage. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's really, really bad. But we put them down to just a 4/4 and a 3/1. But we just die to a 3/1. Oh my god, we're just dead. That's just way too much damage that turn because the Hulk flipped. I think we just lost the game because they milled a creature. If they didn't mill a creature, we'd be at 5 life right now, and then I could Tyrant away the Baloth. Have a blocker for the for one of the other 2, go down to 2 life instead of 0. But the fact that they milled away a creature and flipped Hulk means we're dead. Yeah, it's a rough one. But that is going to be game. Six and 1, heading into game number 8. Alright, here we are in game 8. Unfortunately, opponent on the play again. This hand is pretty good. I'm going to keep it here. Turn 1 Stalwart to ramp us up a bit. Got a Mutt to discard some of these non-land cards to get up to that 7 mana for Boulder Branch. Looks like a blue-white Disturb deck from our opponent, their first play being a Covetous Castaway, a 1/3 that comes back from the grave as a 3/4 flyer. Flyers are pretty scary good against us. Probably discard the Unearth card to our Mutt here. The Juggernaut. Save these prototype cards to play as the large versions later, potentially. Ooh, Mishra's Command as a draw. Definitely a solid card. Lantern Bearer. Let's go with the Disturb deck. Draw an Unleash Shell. Still a little low on mana. I might go Mishra, discard the Automaton to draw a card later. And then I get mana when I do that. Help play something else also in that turn. Don't really have attacks into these Disturb cards. Take one from the Lantern Bearer. Organ Hoarder, excellent, excellent common. That was the mythic rare common in Innistrad Midnight Hunt draft. Ridiculously good card. Incredible 2-for-1 where you get a 3/2 body onto the board and you draw the best card out of your top 3 as well. You also mill yourself a bit if you hit any Disturb cards like a Ghastly Mimicry. It's also tremendously good value. And our opponent did. Beginning of their upkeep, they get copies of the thing, so I can kill this with Sorcery Speed removal and stop it from doing anything. Because it doesn't do anything till their upkeep. Yeah. I don't have to worry too hard about that. So I could have 6 mana total here, because I have to spend 1 into Mishra to get 2 out of it, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. We get a net of +1, we go up to 5. 1 more, we go up to 6, which is not enough to cast either of my 7 mana plays. So I might even just pass. Really hope we hit 1 more land to get there. Still don't really have attacks, and I get to just hold up a removal spell for now. 2 of the 1 instant speed removal spell. Organ Hoarder's coming in. Take that trade. Take 1 down to 18. Now a Gavany Trapper to sit there and just keep tapping creatures down. A Bait Hook Angler that can turn into a flyer. None of this is important enough for me to want to use removal on here. I would rather keep my removal for whatever they put the Mimicry on or whatever big flyers they get later. Although, apologies for the Ajani sound, that's somebody following on Twitch. The Gavany Trapper could be a big deal. Really don't want to go low on removal here though. I'm just going to go to my turn. We did hit the mana we need to go for a Boulder Branch Golem here. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a removal spell. Oh no, I can't because I don't have a creature on board anymore. I can't quite do that yet. Probably have to just play this Automaton as a 3/2 then. Because I can't get mana out of the Stalwart without another untapped card, and obviously I have to tap Mishra to get the 2 mana out of that one. So we just play the Automaton and pass. Taking 1 damage a turn, not under too much pressure. Although now that Angler's here, I might have to trade with that. Then I can't play my Golems, I'll take 3, go down to 15. Screaming Swarm, that's gonna draw removal. Yeah, now we're just trying to like naturally cast Boulder Branch later. So we just go Unleash Shell right now. Does this give Trample? No, it just gives Haste. I think I saved the command and used the Shell here. Attack with the Automaton. It's got a decent attack now. Don't have the greatest blocks after doing that, but this will even out the life totals. Doesn't matter too much. And now that I no longer have an artifact in my hand to discard to get the extra mana out of Mishra, I might just trade Mishra into the Angler. Right, because we need to hit more lands, so it's not a lot I would want to discard at this point. Candlegrove Witch. That's basically a 2/2 flyer during their turn. And keep chipping in for all that flying damage. We need more mana. One mana away from a Boulder Branch Golem. Do I Bitter Reunion discard infantry? I almost feel like I have to Bitter Reunion discard Mishra's Command. Because I can play Reunion and infantry this turn. Though infantry's not blocking a whole lot. Most of their board's in the sky. There's just all kinds of bad here. It's the all flyers deck with tons of recursive value. I don't think I can afford to discard command, because if they ever put a mimicry on something and I can't blow it up, then I'm just going to lose. Almost feels like I don't even cast Bitter Reunion right now. Like I just... I'm supposed to just cycle it away to the mutt. To draw one card. Miss out on the damage if I do that now, but it's still probably better than not discarding the Reunion to draw a card to guarantee the Boulder Branch next turn. Yep, we missed out on a point of damage here, but I think this is still what we should do. Definitely what we should have done pre-combat. We do get the mana. Alright. Not played this one ideal. Putting the Swarm back into their library. Sending in with the squad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage here. And crack back pretty hard. Juggernaut engrave as well. Got the Boulder Branch Golem mana to gain a ton of life. What happens if I go to combat and they tap Stalwart? I'm screwed. But I feel like if I go to combat, they're going to tap a 3-power creature, and I just attack with the other one. If I go for the Boulder Branch pre-combat, then I don't get to attack with anybody. Obviously not good. One, two, three, four, 5. I don't die if they tap my Stalwart when I go to combat. I can just play command instead this turn. And we'll go to combat. Okay, so they tap a 3-power. Okay, so I get max value here. Oh, no, I don't, because if I attack with infantry, I guess it really doesn't matter either way, because if I attack with infantry, I don't have the Boulder Branch mana. But this way I get them to tap out of their potential counterspell if they had one. Oh, I almost played really, really badly in this last game. Well, it's only the last game if we win, and it's not looking super great right now. I do have a shot. Mishra's Command can win a game out of nowhere, but they need to tap out of Gavony Trapper mana for it to do so. So they have to, like, just tap out for the Screeching Swarm pass. Well, ideally it would be, like, tap out for that and then attack with everybody. But I don't think that'll happen. They're going to Ghastly Mimicry my Boulder Branch Golem. Please attack with everybody. Absolutely everybody. Okay, they're not going to attack with everybody. So I have to kill my own Boulder Branch Golem. Or they're going to get one every single turn. Is there any way to find lethal? I can return a Juggernaut for 6 mana. I have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. So I can return this for 6, and I can Mishra's Command something for 2 if I tap Stalwart and another creature. So I Mishra's Command for 1, basically. So return Juggernaut. Mishra's Command doesn't do anything. So I just return Juggernaut. They chump Boulder Branch Golem. They chump 3 other damage. They take 3, 4, plus 5 is 9. Yeah, no, Mimicry. I didn't realize this can enchant opposing creatures. There was no way we were going to win then. Because this was going to be a 2-for-1 either way. We'd have to shoot our own creature. That is devastating. Get value off of it by just going into combat with it here first. And then command post-combat. I mean, if I command post-combat, I don't get the +X to a creature. But I'm just killing the Boulder Branch anyway. Guess I should have just kept the land in hand and discarded it to command. This is an obnoxious deck. I want to just scoop. Alright, they're down to 9 and we have a 5-power trampler to unearth, but they have a trapper to lock it down, they have a bunch of flying, and we're at 10. Don't see a great way out here. Skywarp Scab, get a 2/5 blocker, and draw a card when they play it. Yep, can't get through that. They have the Trapper to lock down the Juggernaut. We did draw an Excavation Explosion, which is something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage in the sky next turn. They play Juggernaut, they just tap it down with Trapper. Shoot the Trapper? Okay, tap. Hello, game? What? I can't believe I have to full control to tap that in response. Well, all their creatures would have flying anyway. Actually, no, they wouldn't. This wouldn't have Coven anymore. 6. Obviously, the plan was to tap the Automaton to the Stalwart in response to them tapping it down with Trapper. So obnoxious. Magic Arena sometimes. Magic Arena sometimes. Oh, cool. Alright, we were dead no matter what. Definitely could have played this one out better. Maybe could have gotten a victory. We did get them down to 4 life. Few misplays that game, one of them arena induced at the very end. But I definitely could not have won the first loss, and that one would have been really, really close even if I played perfectly, so might have just been destined to be 6-2 at this point. Heading into the final boss here. Hopefully we can get some better luck in the final game, get through this Arena Decathlon on the first try. Solid opener here. Arbalist Engineers, always going to do some sweet stuff. Bitter Union to discard a land, get some other gas to play. I think I will be keeping this. We are on the draw again, though. And as you can see, being on the play versus being on the draw is also something that can matter a lot. Can often be the difference between a victory and a loss when games get so close to where you get your opponent to like 4 life. It's another thing that could have gone differently the last couple games. We were on the draw in both of them, and they were both close enough that potentially being on the play would have gotten us a victory in either of them, so pretty rough to be on the draw these final 3. But pretty sweet draw now. We draw into Stoneseeker immediately. Probably just drop that here. Obviously we hope they don't immediately have removal for it, but it's not like we could bait out their removal spell with a Stalwart. They're not going to throw something at that immediately. Playing against Red-Black, Exhibition Magician is their first play, a 2-2 that can create a 1-1 or a treasure, and they're going to get the 1-1 off of it. And shoot the 1-1 with my Engineers, which seems fine, because then I can still just play the Juggernaut next turn, and this way they don't have a blocker for my Stoneseeker. Can't go for the double block. Could also just put a counter on Engineers and attack with both creatures this turn, but then they can double block kill Engineers or double block kill Stoneseeker and only lose 1 creature. Not in love with either of those plays. Definitely don't need to just make a Power Stone. I think I'm killing the 1-1 here. Getting in with the Stoneseeker. Next turn we play a Juggernaut. Probably going to Bitter Reunion away this Stalwart. Has not done much in any of these games. I mean, I guess it did. It would have done a lot last game if I was smarter about it. Whirling Strike means all of our attacks are beautiful now, but rather get a Juggernaut on the board first. Fairly certain. Yeah, just get the Juggernaut on board and then pass, and then use the strike next turn. Well, there's removal, potentially. They're eyeballing the Juggernaut aggressively. I don't like it, I'm not into it. Leave our Juggernaut alone. I don't want to deal with your bullshit. Whatever it's gonna be. Oh!
I've conquered entire plains.
That's obviously not very good for us. We lose 2 life and they gain 2 life every single turn now. Unless I discard.
Doing business with you.
They gain 2 life no matter what I do here, and I don't think my life total matters that much. Obviously this Forge Boss can start dealing a lot of damage to me, but I think I'm going to hit my opponent more aggressively than they hit me, so I'm just going to take some damage here. If I could stop them from gaining the life by discarding a card, I might. Okay, well, we have a Whirling Strike. Probably have to just kill these Obnixili. Juggernaut at the big one. These 2 at the small one. Bitter Reunion, discard the Wooded Ridgeline, still holding out the mana to play Sentinel Stalwart and Whirling Strike. Using all 5 of our mana here. Block with Forge Boss, we trample over for 1, but we trample over for 3 if I Whirling Strike, and I kill the Forge Boss without losing the Juggernaut. Beautiful for us. Both the Obnixili are gone. The Forge Boss is gone, and we still have all of our creatures. Bitter Reunion away this Ridgeline. We drop the Stalwart as well. Great turn for us there. Not great draw, but great turn for us. Alright. Things are looking pretty good if we don't flood out now. Ooh. Wow, Obnixilus into Gix. I'm going to have to trade for the Stalwart, but it's not a terrible trade for me because I definitely don't need the Stalwart's mana. If I let that damage in Gix would allow my opponent to draw a card there, which is definitely not something I can allow. Oh. Really don't want to 6-0 into 6-3 today, but we're on the way. We're headed in that direction. Probably good to hold up to where I can double block Gix. Cannot let that thing hit me. Ravenous Gigamole. Turns a creature that they mill to their hand. So pick up a Goring Warplow. They have a little Death Toucher now that can trade into our Juggernaut. So they could pick it up, play it as a 1/1 Death Touch, block the Juggernaut here. Could be their line. Because Juggernaut has to attack into it. They could also wait, play it as a 5/4 Death Touch off of the Prototype effect. Alright, they are going to play it as a 1/1, so we're probably just immediately trading Juggernaut into that. Gix has a great attack next turn if they just attack with everybody. Ooh. Ooh, okay. That's huge. That's huge. That's genuinely fantastic here. Do I press in for a bunch of extra damage so I can kill Gix and I have enough mana? A red and 6? For +6, plus I'll make this an 11 power trampler. They block 4 damage. 11 takes 7 from that. That puts them to 8. Take 4 from these two. Or do I just discard 1 card, draw 1 card instead with Mishra's Command? I feel like I just buff the Juggernaut like a ton. Make it 11 power. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Deal 6 to that. Buffing Juggernaut, right? I could buff Stoneseeker instead. That'll do 8 damage to them if they let it through. 8 plus 5 is 13. Feels like either way I put it on Juggernaut or Stoneseeker, they probably... Put it on Juggernaut, they can just block with only Warplow. They just take 11 and double block Stoneseeker if I send that in. I think I put it on Juggernaut. I feel like either way pretty much does the same amount of damage to my opponent. So block there, take 10, they go to 5. If I do this, they probably double block there, take 11, so I do 1 more damage, get rid of the Warplow, and I still have a Juggernaut trampling over. I feel like if I do this, this probably hits them for another 2, and they just kill Juggernaut. The alternative is good too, just keeping the Juggernaut on board. Alright, so it looks like we are hitting for an extra 2. They're down to 3. Leaves them dead to a lot, and we can reanimate the Juggernaut with Trample Haste, which is definitely good. Gate to Tumbledown is seeking a card. They only have 2 mana left to play around with. 3 mana maximum if they play a land this turn. To get them out of this, 1 mana for a Gnawing Vermin. Doesn't quite get them out of here. Mill themselves 2. And I think reanimating Juggernaut is going to find the kill here. Oh my god, and a Tyrant off the top as well. Arena just really making sure we don't go 6-0 into 6-3. I'll absolutely take it. 7-2. Another game that felt pretty close there. I was getting a little worried about flooding out in the end, but then the top-decked Mishra's Command really putting a ton of pressure on my opponent. They're getting them down to a massively low life total. That Mishra's Command off the top really changing the course of that game. The Tyrant wasn't necessary, but it was nice of Arena to make it feel super, super safe. Instead of having to go for just Juggernaut kill there. So yeah, that was a wild event all around. I gotta say, those games were a lot more complex and a lot harder than I was expecting from the jump in or jump start style event. But yeah, that ended up being a really stressful, really wild, kind of competitive day of Magic there. 4,000 gold and a Decathlon token going to be our prizes. We got to play the maximum amount of Magic today as well. Got to play 9 total games, the maximum you can play in the event. Kept it nice and stressful. I'm just going to pretend that I specifically decided to play really poorly against the blue-white deck to make sure that we'd get all 9 games worth of gameplay. That's definitely what it was. It wasn't just some misplays. But yeah, I think overall a great event. I think I played really, really well for the first half. Like up to round 5, I think I played super well. Round 6 was kind of a freebie, I think. I think I just got like a really aggressive start, but there were some really close games in the first 3 that were really hard fought that I'm a really big fan of how I played. And then, of course, the 2 losses, I don't think I played perfectly in either of those, and I definitely played really bad against that blue-white deck, so kind of balanced things out in the end after the really competitive, really well-played beginning there. So I'll take it, balance it out to just some average arena gameplay. That is what I am the absolute best at, just being lukewarm, mediocre right in the middle, but that is going to be good enough. We'll take a last look at the deck here real quick before I sign off for the day, but this was some excellent stuff. I highly recommend the red-green deck if you are playing in the Jump In Arena Decathlon event and you get access to the red-green Brothers War deck. Forgot what it was called, but the rares being Tyrant of Kerr Ridges or Titania's Command, there is a 20% chance you get a Mythic, and the Mythic's actually weaker than both of those cards, so there's a 1 in 5 chance you don't get a very good rare. It's the 6 mana 7/6 Trample Worm. It's still a good card, but it's nowhere near as good as the Tyrant or the Titania's Command, but yeah, overall, the main deck list in there is really good as well. I believe that's where our Obliterating Bolt came from, and our Obstinate Baloth Arbalest Engineers obviously came from that as well, so huge props to that. And the Mishra's deck also did some great stuff, gave us some more removal with Unleashed Shell. Excavation Explosion might be from that deck as well. I'm pretty sure Horned Stoneseeker's from the Mishra deck, as is Mishra's Command, Scrapwork Mutt, so good stuff from that deck. Yeah, not much else to say. Great stuff today. I'm very excited to play all of these Arena Decathlon events. So tomorrow, we're going to be playing the Arena Decathlon event number 2, which is Pauper. So that's going to be a constructed format where you can only play with cards that are common on Magic Arena. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested in any of the future Decathlon events, I will be playing in all of them and trying to get as many of these tokens as I can. But yeah, that is going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to hang out in real time, you can check out the Twitch channel where I will be live multiple times per week. Definitely going to be doing some extra Decathlon runs for the times when I don't immediately win the very first time I try. And you can also check out the Patreon link in the description below if you'd like to support the channel directly. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.